Hello, good day. I am Jst.krnfrnc Jumuad and I am here to report the Chapter 10, which is Managing Property and Liability Risk. But first, let me read the objectives. First, objectives is learn to know the difference between risk and risk management. Next is describe the following terms of risk management, which is speculative risk, pure risk, exposures, perils, and loss frequency, loss severity, policy limits, deductibles, and co-insurance. And the next one is apply the risk management process to address the risk to your property and income. Fourth is explain how insurance works to reduce risk. Fifth is design a homeowners or renters insurance program to meet your needs. And the sixth one is design an automobile insurance program to meet your needs. And the seventh is describe other types of property and liability insurance. And the last one is summarize how to make an insurance claim. So, the purpose of liability insurance. It helps to pay to repair the damage you cause to another person's vehicle or property. Property damage liability coverage is required by law in most states. It typically helps cover the cost of repairs if you are at fault for a car accident that damages another vehicle or property, such as a fence or a building fund. So for example, amo ang widening sa kalsada. Mostly naay mga balay nga last 2 lanes ra. Kinahanglan man jud ang kalsada is 4 lanes. Since amo ang balay is nas daplig kalsada nya, 2 lanes pa man, so kinahanglan maatras ang balay. If insured amo ang yuta, ang insurance ang mubayad. So if not, kaya since amo ang kalsada diri sa amo is national road man, so ang contractor dili sila ang mubayad. Kung wala po na insured among yuta, it means wala mi mahimo. Kay di man pud insured amo ang yuta. So, wala mi mahimo sa amo ang yuta nga maapil sa widening nga makuha sa kalsada para sa kalsada. And another example, I don't know if sakto ba to pagka-explain. Another example is a car accident. A car accident, there is sa amo diri sa, for example, sa amo diri sa part sa Mabinay di sa Lumbangan na ay usa ka tindahan nga nasunog kay natumba tong truck sa gasol delivery sa gasol, natumba ang truck. So dako kay tog damage. Ang nabayran nato is a million, I don't know if pila, basta kay million ang nabayran sa tag-iya sa company sa gasol. Sila ay nag-repair sa tanang gasto, sa tanang mga og pilay na damage ato nga tindahan, sila naggasto. So, that's the purpose of liability insurance. Ang tag-iya sa if insured ang tindahan, yuta, or any mga insured nga gamit tapos na damage anang kuan sa company or bisag dili sa company, like mga driver og kuan, mga planters inana nakadisgrasya, sila ang magbayad if ilahang ang sala. So that's the purpose of liability insurance. If insured imong yuta, insured imong talang gamit nga na damage, ang naka-damage mo'y magbayad. Next is property insurance. So property insurance is the protection from financial losses resulting from the damage to or destruction of your property. Like, na example na ko is, katong, widening. Lahi na pod. Yeah, property insurance. Diba ni anak ko dito, nga if dili insured ang imong yuta, wala kay mahimo. If insured imong yuta, mabayaran ka. Pag ma-appeal sa widening ang imong balay. So, for example, manat na ako example, nga widening sa mga kasada. Kinahanglan mo 4 lanes, imuhang balay is daplin og 2 lanes, kinahanglan ma-atras imong balay. And if insured ang imong yuta, ang insurance mo'y magbayad. If dili, wala tayong mahimo. Okay? National road man ang imuhang ang kasada at bang sa imong balay. Muna siya purpose sa property insurance. If insured, mabayaran ka sa insurance. If dili, wala tayong mahimo. So, next is liability insurance. Liability insurance is protection from financial losses suffered when you are held liable for others' losses. Next is liability insurance. So, liability insurance is a protection from financial losses suffered when you are held liable for others' losses. Like, you cause a damage of their car. So, ang damage ato, if insured ang ilahang sakyanan, makasave ka from your pocket money. Makasave ka, okay? Ang insurance man ato magbayad sa damage sa ilang sakyanan. If insured ilang sakyanan, if not, ikaw magbayad nga nakadamage ilang sakyanan. So, that's the purpose of liability insurance. So, next sa risk and risk management. So, what is the nature of risk? It is the uncertainty about the outcome of a situation or event. So, it is a result. Unsay result? Muna siya risk. Unsay result? If you risk, muna siya resulta like para nang nakadamag ka. Possible unsalan may mga outcome ana nga situation is mo risk jud ka, like kaya nang ikaw nakadamag imuha man tong sala, so you take the risk. So ari na pati sa speculative risk. Speculative risk is a potential for gain as well as for loss. So, risk and risk management. What is the nature of risk? It is the uncertainty about the outcome of a situation or event. So, we all know that there is not every risk is insurable. First, let's take a moment to define the risk. There are many definitions about risk. So, but for our insurance purposes, risk predominantly means two things: uncertainty arising from the possible assurance of possible occurrence of an event, and the second one is the potential for injury or damage to persons or property to which an insurance policy relates. So for example, katong sa disgrasya, katong car accident. So since ang imuhang kan is nakasala, you take the rest sa responsibility sa imuhanga na damage sa imuhanga sakyanan inana. So let's go for the speculative risk. So speculative risk, a potential for gain as well as for loss. So example pod ani sa speculative risk is it has a chance of loss or profit or a possibility that nothing happens. Like, wait up. Kasagaran sa example is gambling and investments are the most typical example of speculative risk. But the traditional insurance market does not consider speculative risk to be insurable. Dili siya not all things are insurable. That's speculative risk. So let's go for the investments pure risk or pure risk. Investments pure risk is no potential for gain, only the possibility for loss. So insurance. So for the pure risk are risks that have no possibility of a positive outcome. Something bad will happen or nothing at all will occur. The most common examples are property damage risk such as floods, fires, earthquakes, and hurricanes. Litigation is the most common example of pure risk in liability. These risks are generally insurable. Mura siya kasagaran insurable. Kasagaran sa pure risk is katula mga property. So, next is the risk management process. So, step 1 for the risk management process. First is identify sources of risk exposure like vehicle, home, jewelry, illness, and death. Muna siya. Wait. So this risk or exposure is the first step of the risk management process, and this one is a personal such the risk management process. Step 1. Identify sources of risk or exposure, which is vehicle, home, jewelry, illness, and death. That's the sources of risk or exposure. And then, one of the risks is also a peril. It is an event that can cause a financial loss. And then, we proceed to step 2. Step 2. Estimate the risk and potential losses. So first, in the step 2 is loss frequency. Loss frequency is evaluate the likely number of times that a loss might occur over a period of time. So, loss frequency is more likely number of times o kanus-an ay tabo in a period of time, like every year or every month, every week may tabo ang so in the step 2, estimate the risk and potential losses. So first, in the step 2, loss frequency. Loss frequency is evaluate the likely number of times that a loss might occur over a period of time. So, most likely, ang mga panghitabo like accident or like sa mga property, mga kanang illness, death, nginana, o kapila may tabo sa katuig or 1 month. That's a loss frequency. Evaluate sila og kapila na hitabo in a year or in a month. Then, loss severity. Loss severity is the potential magnitude of the loss. So, next. The relationship between severity and loss frequency of loss. Now, let's proceed to the relationship between severity and frequency of loss. So, this one is insurance coverage targeted for high severity loss. So, when we say severity, it is a condition. It means condition. So, the risk management process, step 3, choose how to handle risk. First, risk avoidance. It is to refrain from owning items or engaging in activities that expose risk of loss. The second one is risk retention. It is accept risk and plan for its possible effect. And the third one is loss control. It is designed to reduce severity and frequency of loss. Example, locks and fire alarms. And risk transfer. It is insurance provide transfer for financial loss burden to insurance provider. And the last one is risk reduction. It is reducing risk to acceptable levels by planning for possible loss, such as deductible for insurance. And that's all.